We are getting some breaking news in the investigation into the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie.
We've got some breaking news just into our newsroom. Phoenix police have identified the woman found dead near a canal off 28th Street in Oak.
For Nancy Guthrie, I have heard people make claims that even when a phone is turned off, it still pings towers, which is not true.
In the search for Nancy Guthrie, straight out to Crime Stories, investigative reporter.
Stop for a moment and pay close attention, because a disturbing development has just surfaced in the investigation surrounding Nancy Guthrie, and it is forcing investigators and followers of this case to stop and reconsider everything once again. Earlier this morning, authorities in Phoenix, Arizona were dispatched after receiving a report about a woman lying unresponsive near the edge of the Grand Canal Trail. When officers reached the location, they quickly realized the situation was far more serious. The woman was pronounced dead right there at the scene. Within minutes of that information beginning to circulate, the same chilling questions started appearing all across the internet. Could this possibly be Nancy Guthrie? From the moment the 84-year-old woman mysteriously disappeared, this case has held the country in suspense around one haunting mystery. Where did she go? And who might be responsible for making her vanish? Thousands of tips have flooded investigators since that day. Federal agents, local deputies, and investigative analysts have spent countless hours reviewing evidence, surveillance footage, and records searching for answers. Yet even after such an enormous investigation, one critical fact has never changed. Nancy Guthrie remains missing. And now, with the discovery of a woman's body in Phoenix, that painful uncertainty has suddenly returned to the very center of this unfolding story. Here is what investigators have confirmed so far. Authorities in Maricopa County stated that emergency crews were dispatched to the Grand Canal Trail after reports came in that an adult woman was lying unresponsive near the edge of the canal bank. When officers arrived at the location, they quickly determined that the woman showed no signs of life. She was officially pronounced dead at the scene, and authorities immediately opened a formal death investigation. At the moment this recording is being made, officials have still not publicly identified the woman. Investigators say the medical examiner's office is currently working to determine exactly who she was and what may have happened to her. That missing piece of information is precisely why this discovery has suddenly reignited intense discussion surrounding the case of Nancy Guthrie. When a woman disappears under mysterious circumstances, and, weeks later, an unidentified body is discovered somewhere within the same state, people naturally begin asking whether the two events might somehow be connected. But the place where this woman was found introduces a critical detail that investigators simply cannot ignore. Nancy Guthrie vanished from her home in the Catalina Foothills area near Tucson. The canal where the unidentified woman was discovered is located in Phoenix, approximately 120 miles away. At first glance, that distance might appear to be a strong reason to rule out any possible connection. But in this situation, the distance actually creates even more unsettling questions. According to individuals who knew Nancy Guthrie well, her mobility was extremely limited. Even walking short distances was reportedly very difficult for her. That means if the woman discovered in Phoenix were somehow tied to this case, there is almost no realistic situation where Nancy Guthrie could have traveled that far by herself. Someone would have had to move her, and that possibility immediately opens the door to a completely different direction in the investigation. What makes this even more intriguing is that Phoenix had already become a key focal point for federal investigators earlier in the case. During one stage of the investigation, the FBI quietly shifted part of its operational efforts from Tucson to Phoenix. At the time, many observers assumed the decision was simply a matter of administrative convenience. However, law enforcement experts highlighted a detail that could not be ignored. Phoenix sits directly at the center of Arizona's transportation network. Major interstate highways run through the city, and several key air travel routes also converge there. Anyone trying to move quickly across the state would almost certainly pass through Phoenix at some point. By shifting investigative resources into that area, agents effectively place themselves in a strategic position to monitor some of the state's most critical transportation corridors. Then weeks later, a body is discovered inside that very same city. Investigators are not claiming that the two events are connected. In fact, officials have been extremely careful not to rush toward conclusions. Still, developments like this naturally force investigators to re-examine every possible scenario. It is also important to remember that this case has already faced moments where rumors and misinformation spread rapidly across the internet. Earlier in the investigation, a video began circulating online claiming that a body had been discovered in a pond near Sabino Canyon, not far from Nancy Guthrie's neighborhood. The video made dramatic claims about footprints, supposed signs of a struggle, and other pieces of alleged evidence. Within only a few hours, thousands of viewers online were convinced the mystery had finally been solved. However, when authorities were questioned directly about the footage, they quickly dismissed the claims and clarified that the information spreading online was not accurate. The incident revealed a major challenge investigators often face during high-profile investigations. As public attention intensifies, speculation tends to move much faster than confirmed facts. Viral clips, online theories, and bold assumptions can easily drown out the truth before investigators have time to verify anything. But the discovery in Phoenix is very different from those earlier rumors. This time, the response came directly from law enforcement officials themselves. Officers physically arrived at the scene, confirmed the situation, and opened a formal death investigation. The medical examiner's office is now responsible for determining the true identity of the woman. That process often requires time and careful verification. When investigators attempt to identify someone discovered under circumstances like these, several critical steps must be followed. First, the location where the body was found is carefully examined and documented in detail. After that, the remains are transported to the medical examiner's office for a thorough examination. From there, identification may involve comparing fingerprints, reviewing dental records, and conducting detailed DNA analysis. Each of these methods helps investigators determine exactly who the individual was. In certain situations, identification can happen relatively quickly, but in others the process may require several days. In the case of Nancy Guthrie, investigators already have extensive identifying information available, including medical and biological records that could quickly confirm or rule out a match. If the remains discovered in Phoenix turn out to belong to someone completely unrelated, investigators will continue working to determine that person's identity using the same procedures. But if a confirmed connection were ever established, it would instantly change the entire understanding of what happened in this case. Another factor analysts have discussed is the possibility that more than one individual may have been involved in the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. Reports from the early stages of the investigation noted a suspect captured on camera carrying a backpack and appearing unusually well prepared. Some observers have speculated that the suspect might have had communication equipment or assistance nearby, implying coordination rather than a lone individual acting alone. These observations remain unverified, but they illustrate how investigators weigh multiple possibilities when piecing together an event like this. If more than one person were involved, transporting someone over long distances would suddenly become far more plausible. Meanwhile, the family of Nancy Guthrie continues to endure an agonizing state of uncertainty. Every time a new development arises, especially the discovery of a body anywhere in Arizona, they are forced to confront the same terrifying question all over again. For families of missing persons, the waiting can be one of the most grueling and emotionally taxing parts of the process. Hours, or even days, may pass between the discovery of remains and the confirmation of identity. During that period, hope and fear exist side by side. At present, authorities have not confirmed any connection between the Phoenix Canal discovery and the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. Investigators say the identity of the woman found near the Grand Canal Trail has not yet been publicly released, and the examination process remains ongoing. For now, the central mystery of this case remains exactly where it began. Nancy Guthrie remains missing. The investigation into her disappearance is still very much active. The reward for any information that could lead to answers remains unclaimed, and investigators believe someone out there may hold the crucial piece that could finally shed light on what truly happened. Until the identity of the woman discovered in Phoenix is confirmed, the question everyone is asking will stay unanswered. Could this discovery at last reveal the truth? Or is it yet another shocking twist in a case that continues to challenge investigators at every turn. Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to receive updates the moment new information is released, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications, because this story is far from over.